Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into one of the most profound and ancient spiritual philosophies, Gnosticism. Now, Gnosticism might seem complex at first, but at its core, it's about something we all seek, true inner knowledge. Not the kind of knowledge you get from textbooks or authority figures, but a deep personal experience of the divine that can only come from within. Gnosticism teaches us that spiritual enlightenment comes from awakening the divine self. And this journey toward awakening starts with realizing that what we see in the physical world isn't the full picture. Let's start by talking about the core beliefs of Gnosticism. First off, gnosis, which literally means knowledge, is not about memorizing information. It's about awakening, a deep inner realization of truth. Gnosticism teaches that the material world we live in is often an illusion. It's created by what they call the demiurge, a lower force that traps us in cycles of suffering and ignorance. Now, the demiurge is important to understand because it represents the forces that keep us spiritually blind. Think of it like a fog that surrounds us, keeping us disconnected from our true higher nature. The Gnostic path is about cutting through that fog, seeing beyond the illusion, and tapping into the divine self. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Inner knowledge versus external authority. Gnosticism teaches that truth is found within. You don't need to rely on religious institutions or doctrines to access the divine. In fact, Gnosticism has often been at odds with organized religion, especially with the church, because Gnostics believe that personal spiritual knowledge bypasses the need for external authority figures. That's why Gnosticism has been labeled as heretical throughout history, because it empowers the individual to seek their own truth. Which brings us to the role of Christ in Gnosticism. Unlike traditional Christianity, where Jesus is worshipped as a savior, Gnosticism views Christ as an enlightened teacher, a guide showing us how to awaken to our own divine potential. The teachings of Christ, in Gnostic thought, are tools to help us discover the divine spark within ourselves. You see, in Gnosticism, the goal isn't to worship Christ, but to become Christ-like, to recognize that within each of us lies a piece of the divine, a spark that connects us to the ultimate source of all creation. Now, speaking of the divine spark, this is one of the most powerful concepts in Gnosticism. Each of us carries a piece of the true God within us. But, and this is important, it's often buried deep, obscured by the distractions and false teachings of the material world. The process of spiritual growth is about uncovering this divine essence, and it's not something you can achieve through external rituals or dogma. It's through personal introspection, meditation, and gnosis, that inner knowing, that you can reconnect with that divine spark. And why is this so important? Because Gnosticism teaches that we are trapped in a material world designed to keep us limited. But when we tap into the divine self, we begin to break free from these limitations. We start to see the material world for what it is, a place of suffering and illusion, and we transcend it. The ultimate goal here is to reunite with the divine, to return to a state of unity and higher truth through gnosis. It's a path of liberation, not only from the external world, but also from the internal barriers that keep us from our true potential. Now, one of the most liberating aspects of Gnosticism is the idea of empowerment through inner truth. When you access this inner knowledge, you reclaim your personal power. You no longer need to rely on external authorities or live in fear of judgment or guilt. Living by your divine guidance allows you to step away from the control imposed by institutions and live in alignment with your true self. It's not about following rules. It's about being guided by the divine that resides within you. And this brings us to the final key idea of Gnosticism for today: personal responsibility. Gnosticism teaches that spiritual growth is a deeply personal journey. No one can walk it for you. There is no savior coming to rescue you. You must take responsibility for your own spiritual awakening, and that means doing the inner work. In traditional religion, salvation often comes through obedience to external rules. But in Gnosticism, salvation comes from within, from achieving enlightenment and aligning yourself with your divine nature. So, to wrap up today's discussion, let's recap. Gnosticism is all about personal spiritual enlightenment, awakening to the truth that lies within. It's about recognizing that the material world is often an illusion, and that by tapping into the divine self, we can break free from ignorance and suffering. In the next part of this series, we'll dive even deeper into these ideas as we explore how this foundation sets the stage for my manifesto on consciousness and purpose alignment, where we'll talk about how to co-create your reality through spiritual awareness and live a life aligned with higher purpose. If this resonates with you, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for the next video where we'll continue this journey into consciousness, spiritual empowerment, and purpose alignment. Until then, stay elevated and keep tapping into your divine self.